Hi, I'm Will Barron, and in this video I'm going to go through 5 ways you can reconnect with an old prospect that you've tried to sell to in the past. It is far easier to sell to an old prospect who knows who you are than it is to try and prospect, bring on board and take someone down the sales funnel that has never had any communication or any contact with you in the past. And you already know this! So why aren't you spending more time connecting with old prospects that you didn't close the first time round? I've always found the biggest barrier is just sheer awkwardness. Yeah, I'm that guy that you didn't buy from because of whatever reason, but do you remember me and can we have another conversation? And if that isn't awkward enough, what happens when they turn around and go, I don't really remember who you are? It's something you've got to get over, but there's nothing more embarrassing than having someone that you've worked really hard to impress shoot you down like this. Kind of like how things were when I used to chat up girls when I was 12. But to make sure that you're not wasting your time, there are 3 things you need to do or think about before you attempt to reconnect with any old prospect. First thing is, you've got to ask yourself, was that prospect really qualified in the first place? You've got to assess, why didn't they buy? Was it because there was no budget? Was it because the timing was just wrong? If that's the case, then you're genuinely in with a shot of closing them. However, if you couldn't solve a problem they had, or you couldn't show massive value to them, and you couldn't show that you personally could add value as a salesperson, then you're probably not going to be closing them anytime soon, whether it be now when you re-engage or when you re-engage in a few months or years or whatever it is. Number 2, can you get over the cognitive dissonance? Number 2, can you get over the cognitive dissonance? Dissonance. Number 2, can you get over the cognitive dissonance? As you can see from me messing up that question, human beings are dumb. We all rely on a set of rules that we follow each day to try and reduce the amount of processing that our brain has to do. And one of these rules is cognitive dissonance, in which we will dig our heels in. Once we've made that decision, we think that we're right. We'll continue to believe that no matter what the evidence is thrown at us. So a good example of this are smokers. We all know it's disgusting. We all know it's gross. We all know it's killing people. It's giving them cancer. It ups the rates of loads of other diseases by a large percentage, but still people do it. And so if the prospect already believes that you, the salesperson, or your product is a complete load of garbage, then it's going to be very difficult, and more difficult than the first time around, to change their mind on this. However, if your product's been updated, if you've grown and changed and developed as a salesperson, then you might be in with a shot. And question 3 you've got to ask is, can you break out of obscurity, and can you get in the face and in front of your prospect? You can't sell to someone if they don't know who you are or if you can't have access to them. So this is the first hurdle that needs to be overcome before you can start selling to that prospect. The problem is you might struggle to connect with them because their guards might be up. They might have told PAs not to let you through, not to pass forward your phone calls because you've already been unsuccessful in selling them the first time around. At worst, he might not even remember you. They might not even care because they don't know who you are. They've totally forgotten about you. So here are the 5 ways to break through that obscurity and to reconnect with an old prospect. Number 1, social media. Millennials, like myself, will likely go to social media in this first instance. We will tweet, we will Facebook, we will add on LinkedIn, we will message on LinkedIn. It's not generally that successful because there's no real value being given and it's just a lot of time sucked. So it's up to you whether you want to bother with this step. Number 2 is email. Get direct with the prospect. No more games here. Send them an email and make sure that you use a chain of emails that have already been sent in the past and reply to one of them, because that'll put you in perspective, it'll put you in context, and that might spur a conversation in itself. But remember, email is not for selling. Email is for setting up the conversation in real time. That's a phone call, that's Skype, that's in person. Email is no good for anything other than just setting up the call. And if the prospect brushes you off, it's time to move on to the next step. Number 3, the referral. If the prospect's still ignoring you or is just under the impression that you and your product suck, then you need to break the pattern that they're in. It's likely that they're no longer consciously thinking that your product sucks or that they don't like you or anything like that. It's likely that they're just running this subconscious pattern of ignore this person, and so you need to break through that. All you're getting from them at this time is an auto response. The brain is spitting out the same old message over and over and over again. Don't engage, don't engage, don't engage, no response. And your job, your duty is to knock them out of this state. Smash them straight out of it An easy way to do this is with a referral. So log into LinkedIn, see if in the meantime, since you last contacted them, anyone else in your company has had dealings with their company, with them, with their management team, their staff, or see if there's any other people that you've sold to who know them, who can put in a good word for you. And again, break this pattern and attack the whole thing from a different angle. You're really changing the conversation when you start to bring referrals on board. You've got to do whatever it takes to break this narrative of salesperson is chasing prospect for money. Referrals, other people on board, other conversations, and other people mentioning your name is a great way of doing that. If the referrals aren't working, it's time for number 4, lumpy mail. Sounds simple. Just send them something lumpy in the post. I'm 100% confident that there's pretty much zero salespeople doing this, and there hasn't been people doing this since the 1970s or 1980s. Just send them a cool t-shirt with your company logo on the front. It doesn't really matter what you send them. You're not trying to bribe them. It doesn't have to be expensive. You're just trying to capture their attention. All you're trying to do is give them a reason, give them an opportunity to come back to you and say thank you. If the lumpy mail does not get a message across, then you need to change up how you're delivering your message. Send them a message through a vehicle that they cannot ignore. That could be a carrier pigeon flying through their window, landing on their desk, dropping, I don't know if they carry it, I suppose they got it around the leg, but they've got a note in their leg that says, call me, something along the lines of this. Send them a singing telegram. Pay a celebrity that you know they're a big fan of to give them a message via video. Again, it doesn't matter what it is, all you've got to do is break through that barrier that they've now got raised. If at this point you're still struggling to get through, the prospect is likely forming a habit to ignoring you, and it's going to become harder and harder and harder to engage and to get anything back from them. Number 5 is to leave a horse's head in their bed. This mafia style message, I promise you, will not go ignored. Of course, I'm joking. You just got to get some kind of reaction out of them. And if you tried all of these options and you're still not getting anything from the prospect, perhaps it is now time to give up. Of course, most salespeople give up way too early. You've got to have pushed and pushed and pushed a good 8, 10, 12 times before you give up on a good prospect. After a certain point in time, though, you've got to remember that you might be doing more harm than good. In the age of the internet, it doesn't take much for someone to post some nasty comments about you, the brand, the company that you work for, the product, and it all leads back to you, and that's not going to look good in front of your sales manager. So you've got to be sensible here. And importantly, you can't have an attitude and a mentality of scarcity. There's always going to be way more prospects out there that you can get in contact with. So don't get hung up if you can't get in touch with a prospect that you think would have been a good person to sell to from the past. Remember, time is your only resource. It's the only thing that disappears and never comes back. And so in sales and life, make sure you're making the most of it and really using it. You've got to leverage it and you've got to get the most out of it you possibly can, because once it's gone, it's gone. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe. We do daily videos for salespeople. We both entertain and inform, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.